Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson and today we are going to be doing part 2 of the Artwork of Berserk art book. I know it's been a while since I originally uploaded part 1. I have just been dealing with some health issues, but I'm doing a lot better now, so it's time to get back into the rhythm of making videos and recording. So, we are going to start off right where we left off. I don't want to make this intro too long, just 2 things before we start. Also, we are also joined again by my Guts Nendroid for moral support. First thing is that if you are unfamiliar with Berserk, if you don't know much about it or haven't read it or haven't watched the animes, this manga and this art book especially contains extreme depictions of violence and sexual violence. So if these are topics that you are uncomfortable with, I would recommend maybe not watching this video. However, if you are interested in Berserk or have read Berserk, I would recommend sticking around for it because despite all of the explicit content, the manga is superb. And the second thing is, as you can probably see by my hands, they look a little bit dirty. That is because I have spent the last couple hours painting Warhammer miniatures, and I cannot, for the life of me, get the paint off my hands. So, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So, we are going to start off right where we left off. Whoops, this isn't where we left off. This is where we left off. On this page of Griffith and Guts after a battle, just kind of having a laugh. Also, in a couple of pages, there is one page that I'm either just going to have to black out fully or just not include. Because it is next to impossible to censor and I can absolutely not upload it to YouTube. If you are familiar with Berserk, it is the panel where the apostles and demons get a hold of Casca after they strip her of her armor. If you're familiar with that panel, you know exactly why I cannot include it. And especially because this book is absolutely massive. The picture, while in the same detail as the manga, is about 5 times the size, which just makes the horrors of it even worse. So, let's continue. So here is a picture of the Band of the Hawk being assaulted by all of the apostles at the start of the eclipse. I'm not sure if this is before they got branded or after they got branded. I think this is actually before they got branded because they are, still alive. It looks like the demons, while, threatening them and goading them, they're not killing them. So I'm assuming they have not been marked as sacrifices yet. Here we have the God Hand as well as some apostles. So we have Ubek, we have Slan, we have Conrad. Here is Wild, I believe, not a God Hand member, but just a very strong apostle, as well as 1, 2, 3 apostles. And on top of, actually no, that's not why that's another apostle, just happens to look like him. Guts is on top of him after ripping the tusk off another apostle that he killed, and is about 2 milliseconds away from impaling that apostle and killing it. So one of the first apostles that Guts has killed, and especially in his state, it's incredible that he's able to do so. Unarmored, unarmed, and severely, severely wounded. Here we have after the Band of the Hawk has been marked for sacrifice after Griffith decided to sacrifice him. We see multiple shots of the carnage ensuing during the eclipse. We have multiple bits and pieces of Band of the Hawk members being devoured by the apostles. We have 2 heads in jars. This man is currently being eaten alive. It looks like he's still alive, actually. And this guy has seemingly been swallowed, but just has 1 hand left. And this is Griffith's eyes. I don't know, I can't remember exactly. I believe this is just him kind of watching during his transformation, seeing the carnage and all that, and Griffith is in a very, very bad state of mind at this point. So we are going to go ahead and skip this next page because that is the page with Casca, and I do not want to get hit with the YouTube ban hammer, so we're just going to go ahead and skip that. Here we have Femto, aka Griffith, post-transformation, as he is essaying Casca. Probably one of the most horrific scenes in all of manga, if not just media in general, and this is going to be a field day to censor, but this is the part where essentially every Berserk reader hates Griffith, and yeah, it's hard to believe there are some Griffith apologists, but that's just the way it is. And this is Guts' reaction, because Griffith has made the apostles hold Guts down to watch what happened to Casca. And as you can see, Guts is absolutely livid, like beyond furious. He is missing his arm because he used his broken sword to cut it off because an apostle bit him in the arm to kind of hold him. And Guts, not giving one single shit, decided that, you know what, I'm going to save Casca and I am going to cut my own arm off to try and kill Griffith. And unfortunately, it did not work. Also, as you can see, the apostle that is, you can't see the apostle in this picture, but the apostle that is holding him down has his claw in Guts' right eye. And as someone who has lost their right eye, I can relate to this panel very much, and it just goes to show how much Guts is willing to put himself through in order to try and protect Casca. Fortunately, it was all in vain. Here we have Skull Knight breaking through, seemingly coming to the rescue. This is after his battle with Nosferatu Zard after the tornado that has encircled the eclipse. He managed to get through and is now in the midst of the eclipse. This is a really, really good colored panel of essentially the birth of Femto coming out of a massive Beylit. Femto at this point is essentially in his infancy, as he has just been born, essentially. So while very powerful, he is not quite sure how to actually use his new God Hand powers as of yet, which is probably one of the only reasons why Guts and Casca managed to escape. This is afterwards, after Skull Knight rescued Guts and Casca. We have Casca bathing in the elf sanctuary near Godo's house. You see Casca's brand of sacrifice is on her chest, while Guts's is on his neck. This is Guts in his black swordsman cloak, going absolutely mental, one might say berserk even. But yeah, and it didn't show it in this, but all of the key figures that we know from the Band of the Hawk, so Corcus, Pippin, and Judo, they all died, and it is horrific. And the apostles even toyed with Guts, showing them Pippin's corpse and everything. Judo's death, he tried to rescue Casca, taking grievous wounds in the escape attempt, but still managing to kill a couple of apostles with his expertly thrown throwing knives, but in the end, he still died. And for me, personally, Judo's death is one of the most impactful deaths in this series because I absolutely love Judo. He was probably my favorite member of the Band of the Hawk. Now you might be asking, what about Rickert? The little lad who was Griffith's squire, one might say, or just, one of the young lads following the band. He was not present at the eclipse because he was with the away party of the Band of the Hawk, and while the away party also perished due to apostles, Skull Knight came in and intervened and rescued Rickert. So Rickert, Guts, and Casca are the only surviving members of the Band of the Hawk. Casca and Guts are obviously marked with the brand and severely traumatized and wounded. Guts physically wounded, Casca more mentally wounded. She has essentially reverted back to having the mind of a young child or an infant after the trauma of the whole ordeal, which is very, very sad. This is Guts after suiting up in his black swordsman armor after getting the Dragon Slayer sword. This is him leaving Gordo's cabin and essentially going on the start of his revenge journey, starting the beginning of the Black Swordsman arc. While not the official start of the Black Swordsman arc, for Guts, this is when he officially became the Black Swordsman. Here we have a colorized picture of Puck. We have Guts back in his Raider armor for the Band of the Hawk. I really like this armor set, and if you've played Dark Souls, the original one, there's actually this exact armor set in the game. If you're familiar with From Software games, you know that they draw heavily from Berserk, so there's loads and loads of references to Berserk in those games, and Guts' Raider armor is one of them. Here we have Guts in battle mode with his Dragon Slayer. As you can see, he has lost the right eye, so he only has the one, and also missing his arm. And he is fighting an apostle. I'm not sure which apostle that is. I actually don't think that's a named one. I think that's just a monster of the week, so you will. Here's another great picture. This is actually one of my favorite pictures in the book. Guts hacking his way through the undead mercilessly. As you can see, he split this guy and this guy in half. These guys are seemingly stunned, not quite rushing him, probably because they are absolutely terrified. And this is a picture of Griffith's hand holding his crimson baylet. This is what his hand looked like after he spent a year in the Midland dungeons being tortured. And if you have watched the 1997 Berserk anime, this is the picture that shows up in the intro at the start of every episode during the intro monologue. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to pause the video because I had to take a drink of water because my mouth was very dry. Another great picture. Guts holding his dragon slayer up in the air. This picture I cannot look at. Wow, an amazing piece of art. Every time I see this, I just think of that one Berserk meme video where I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like Guts' sword, but they just keep increasing the size of it as the camera pans up. It is very, very funny. I think so anyway. Maybe that's just because I'm a massive Berserk fan. Here we have Guts. This is the beginning of the volume 1 in the Black Swordsman arc. As you can see, Guts has his prosthetic arm that Rickert made for him, and Guts is currently in the middle of having sex with this apostle. Now, the apostle didn't look like this while Guts was having sex with her. She was pretending to be a comely young woman, and Guts isn't just having sex with her because he felt like it. He did this purposely to get her alone and to trap her. And if you're familiar with this is about 5 seconds before Guts puts his arm cannon into her mouth and blows her entire head off. This apostle is actually the one who killed Crocus during the eclipse. So it's good that Guts got revenge on her. You might not be the biggest fan of Crocus. I actually like Crocus. He does kind of come across as a bit of an asshole, but at the same time, you know, the man is right most of the time, even though it's a very unpopular opinion. This is Guts, wounded, with some scratches on his face, being assaulted by multiple spirits during the night, about to draw his Dragon Slayer sword to fight them off. This is Guts during his fight with the Slug Baron. Guts laying on the ground, wounded with his Dragon Slayer. You can see some of the blood over here. The Count himself is covered in blood. And Puck is with Guts at this point and is just kind of looking on, not really knowing what to do because, you know, he's tiny and can't really interfere in a fight of this caliber or any fight really. Except with his acorns, he is pretty good with those. This is the first introduction to the God Hand that we see in the manga. One of my favorite panels and settings of the God Hand, just in the realm that they reside in. It's just very otherworldly, and just kind of goes to show the realms that they live in and kind of frequent and travel through. So again, Salan, Ubek, Conrad, Femto, aka Griffith, and this is Void. Void is the current leader of the God Hand, so he's the man in charge of them. This panel and this whole encounter takes place about 2 or 3 years after the eclipse. So, like I said earlier, that picture was of Griffith being born as Femto and essentially being an infant. This is Griffith now fully in control of his powers, so he is at full strength right here as Femto. And you can see that his head is basically his helmet from the Band of the Hawk. This isn't a helmet that he's wearing, this is actually part of his body, but I just think it's cool how, that was so much a part of his identity that even in his demonic transformation, he still kept this, which is just interesting, I find. Did I skip a page? Here we have some pictures from the Lost Children arc. The Lost Children arc is actually my favorite arc in Berserk, for many reasons, but one of them is it's probably Guts at his lowest point in the entire series. This is Guts at his worst in the series. So here we have Jill and Rosine. This is Rosine in her, not her full apostle form, but after her apostle transformation, in her human-like appearance. This is Jill witnessing what Guts is doing because she insisted on following him. And actually, no, I'm sorry, that's Rosine looking at Guts on in horror. I didn't notice the ear. But yeah, both Jill and Rosine, still being children, even though Rosine is an apostle, absolutely horrified by Guts. Rosine even says to Guts, what are you? You cannot be human, based on what Guts is doing. This panel here is Rosine after she fully transforms, and in the penultimate battle with Guts, manages to stab Guts with her stinger in the head, and while it seems, or according to the panels, it seems like she killed Guts, she didn't. She, instead of hitting him in the brain or the throat, she hit him in the mouth, and when she did that, Guts bit down on her stinger, which completely terrified her. As I said, this is Guts completely 150% consumed by just raw fury. Here we have Guts cutting through some of Rosine's apostles, and Rosine herself, Rosine coughing up blood during her battle with Guts, Guts showing absolutely no mercy, even though these elves, or quote-unquote elves, are actually just transformed children. Guts does not care and is killing anything that is not human without mercy. So here we have another colored panel and a couple of colored pages. I absolutely love the colored pages and colored spreads in this book. It's one of my favorite parts of this entire art book. So we have Gordo the Smith, who crafted the Dragon Slayer. We have Erica, Gordo's daughter, who helps him around with the forge, and Rickert, who has become essentially his apprentice. Rickert, while not being a warrior and still being extremely young, is an expert blacksmith and an incredible inventor. He is the one who made not only Guts's prosthetic arm, but the arm cannon as well. And it's funny, the first time Guts uses it, he put too much powder in it, and when he shot it, he ended up dislocating his shoulder, which says a lot given how big and beefy Guts is. Here we have a picture of two characters from the Conviction arc. This is Luca. She is the leader of a band of sex workers at the Tower of Conviction and is an absolutely wonderful person. This woman is a saint. And here we have Nina, who is not a saint at all. Many people in the Berserk community absolutely despise Nina. While I don't like her per se, I don't hate her also. So, she's definitely not a very good character, an absolutely despicable character, but, you know, still at the same time, just a young girl. And here's Casca, in the Tower of Conviction, being absorbed by the blob apostle. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, she's in a very bad way here because she was being hunted for being a witch. This is a little bit... Actually, no, is this... Here we have Guts and a new character that we have not seen in the book yet, and actually one of my favorite characters. This is Farnese. She is the leader of the Holy Iron Chain Knights. The Holy Iron Chain Knights are typically led by a woman, and since she is a member of the Van Demian family, which is a very, very rich and very powerful noble house, she got that position. So her and the Holy Iron Chain Knights captured Guts because all they saw, they were hunting him, and all they saw after they came to wherever Guts was dead bodies, because I can't remember if I said this in the previous video, but when an apostle or a demon is killed, they revert back to being a human. So while Guts is killing apostles and demons, by the time Farnese and the Holy Iron Chain Knights arrive, all they see is dead human bodies. So they think Guts is just an absolute madman killing people for no reason. Guts managed to escape and took Farnese hostage in order to do so. This is after they've escaped and after they essentially got assaulted by demons and had to abandon their horse after it got injured. Farnese is naked because Guts stripped her in order to kind of intimidate the other members of the band, or the Holy Iron Chain Knights. So she's currently handcuffed while demons and apostles are surging at them. So she, understandably, is terrified. And despite her capturing Guts, despite her hating Guts at this moment, despite her torturing Guts, Guts is still defending her, which just says a lot about Guts' character, I think, anyway. Here is Guts fighting for Kushans. The Kushans are another kingdom or empire. So far we've only heard of Midland, which is the kingdom that Guts is currently in, and the kingdom that the Band of the Hawk fought for. And the other one that we heard of was Tudor, who was the kingdom that Midland was fighting and ended up winning the war against because of the Band of the Hawk. The Kushans are another empire much, much larger than both Midland and Tudor combined. And this is during their initial assault on Midland at the beginning of their invasion, and Guts cuts through them with ease. Guts can essentially, anything that's not an apostle, any just normal human, Guts can kill like nobody's business. Here's Guts with his Dragon Slayer bloody after defending Casca. Casca, after escaping and running to the Tower of Conviction, and after all that happened, Guts, after being told by both Skull Knight and Gordo that he has to choose between pursuing revenge on Griffith or protecting Casca, the woman he loves and the only thing he has left of the Band of the Hawk, Guts made the right choice and chose to protect Casca. But because for reasons that we'll get to later, the Elf Sanctuary cave near Gordo's house got destroyed, so Casca was no longer safe to stay there, so Guts had to take her with him, despite her being absolutely terrified of men after what happened to her. Moving on. This is inside the Tower of Conviction in the torture chamber as the apostles start to invade. We see Farnese here in her armor along with Serpico. These are some of the Inquisitors under the command of Mosgus. We also have multiple people here, mainly women, who are being tortured by Mosgus and his men for essentially being heretics, despite them doing basically nothing wrong. And while the violence in this picture is pretty graphic, this is nothing compared to what you see in the Berserk manga panels for this arc and these couple of chapters. This is again Mosgus's men. We actually see Mosgus here. He has this very stone-like face, and these are his men or underlings after they have been transformed into pseudo-apostles. As you can see, this guy here has wings. So does this guy. This man, while being big to begin with and holding a breaking wheel, got even bigger. And this man, I can't remember his name, he actually has a very sad story where he was hounded from his village because he was essentially unable to be in sunlight. So he lived in a cave all of his childhood until he met Mosgus, and Mosgus saved him and essentially gave him a purpose. And he says to Farnese that, he is fully aware of what they're doing is horrific and absolutely not what the church wants, but he owes his life to Mosgus and will follow him regardless. Mosgus is also carrying an unconscious Casca here. I keep feeling like I'm skipping pages. This is the big man fighting Guts with the breaking wheel. As you can see, he managed to almost land a hit on Guts. However, Guts fired his arm cannon at the man, and despite being a hulking brute of a man, he has a very childlike face. You can't really see it here, but in the manga you see that he essentially has a baby face. This is Casca after she has been captured by the refugees of the Tower of Conviction for being a quote-unquote witch due to her brand. She's handcuffed, and the people are bringing her to the Tower of Conviction because anyone who brings a heretic or a suspected heretic to the tower gets a reward in the form of food and water. So people are willing to turn on anyone for any reason because they are starving. Here is Guts landing the killing blow on Moscus after his full transformation into a pseudo-apostle. In his transformation, he managed to grow wings as well as skin of stone. So it took a while for Guts to even be able to damage him, let alone kill him. And he impaled him on his sword and then flipped him over the edge of the Tower of Conviction. So all the people below, despite Moscus being an absolute monster, all they see is this man of God, an angel as far as they're concerned, a holy man with angelic wings, being thrown off the top of a massive tower on fire and falling to his death. So they are obviously very annoyed at Guts at this moment. This is a better picture of Moscus post-transformation. As you can see, he has these massive wings and skin of stone. If you look at his face here compared to the panel or the page about 3 pages ago, you can see the transformation. While he still looks like Moscus, you can tell that he is absolutely no longer human, but he views it as a blessing, and Guts is doing his best to fight him to protect Casca. This is an incredible picture of Guts' face. You really see the detail, you see the damage the man has gone through. He has bruised lips, he has cuts on his face, his scar on his nose, his eye is missing. Absolutely incredible. You can say many things about Berserk, but the artwork is always top-notch. And this is Griffith after he has been reborn into a not quite mortal body, but a body in the physical plane. As you can see, he is now the leader of most of the apostles based on him being the most powerful of them. While most apostles instantly accepted Griffith's rule, Zod, who is here, did not at the beginning and had to be bested by Griffith or a hawk in what seemed to be either a dream or a vision. And in that dream/vision, not only did Zod lose, which never happens, but also lost one of his horns. So he now only has one massive horn as compared to 2 earlier. So Zod now follows Griffith and is essentially his right-hand man at this stage. Another great spread. We have Guts with the Dragon Slayer holding Casca in, I think this is like I don't want to say potato sack, but some kind of similar garment. Just something that covers her up, keeps her warm, and hides any mark of random sacrifice. I really like this picture because a lot of Berserk art, especially when it's black and white, you can never really, it always shows Casca being more pale or white than she is. She tends to get whitewashed in a lot of art, but this is a really good picture showing her actual skin color, which I just think is so cool. Yeah, I really like Casca in this picture. Here we have Guts with multiple characters, again with Casca at his side, and we have Puck, and yeah. Again, we have Guts with Puck, Puck seemingly pointing something out as Guts grabs his Dragon Slayer, seemingly preparing to go and kill something, which is just, an everyday occurrence for Guts at this point. The man hasn't gotten a break in years. Another great picture of Guts with the Dragon Slayer, seemingly mid-swing. We have some apostles and transformed demons behind him, with Puck on his shoulder. I really like Puck in these first couple of arcs. While he is the comic relief, to some degree, he is also essentially like the angel on Guts' shoulder, kind of being Guts' conscience, which I just think is a really cool dynamic. The comic relief kind of gets taken over by Isidro, and the voice of reason / angel on Guts' shoulder kind of gets taken over by another character who we will meet fairly soon in the book. Again, here is Guts, shirtless, with his metal arm, holding his Dragon Slayer. You can see he's absolutely been through the ringer. So we have multiple pictures here, so let's get started. So we have Guts holding his arm cannon pointed at, I'm assuming this is like an apostle POV. We have Guts in the stables, just kind of hiding, taking a break. The man needs every break that he can get. We have a beautiful picture of Casca here, with her hair down, holding a dove. This is something that I was just talking about, how Casca's skin tone here seems to be much more pale or white. I don't want to say whitewashed, but a lot of art of Casca tends to have her being very pale, whereas the picture about 2 pages ago showed her, her true skin color, which I think she looks much more beautiful in, but maybe that's just me. Here's Guts again, seemingly wounded, walking away from some cattle. We have Femto here, with Zod kneeling behind him. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you can see that Zod is missing the horn here. This is the horn he lost in the battle. Puck holding a frog hostage next to a shrub. This is actually a good picture just for a size comparison of Puck compared to the rest of everyone. We have Puck again lounging, and Puck enjoying some cheese and some food, with Guts' Baylet here, and Guts in the lake or river seemingly bathing, looking at Puck with disdain, which, as far as Guts looking at Puck, is probably an improvement, actually. Again, Guts here, just kind of brooding, holding a sword with Puck. Again, all these pictures seem to include both Puck and Guts. So here is Guts walking through a town with Puck on his shoulder. 2, I'm not sure if they're men or women, 2 people have been hung for some kind of crime while children poke them with sticks, as children are wont to do. This is Guts seemingly walking through forest. Actually, this might actually be Clyforth. I'm not sure. It looks kind of similar to both. And another picture of Guts' travels through the winter, holding his backpack or his little sling bag with Puck sitting on top of it. All of these pictures actually kind of tell a good story of, Guts' travels, through the seasons. We have, bright sunny days, we have through towns, we have through forests, we have in a lake, we have sitting at night, and then through the winter. So it just goes to show that Guts is just traveling seemingly endlessly. Great picture here of this is when Guts and Casca make out on their own after Guts rescued her from the Tower of Conviction. So Casca is wrapped up in her robe to try and keep her warm. Guts with a much more, I don't want to say docile, but neutral expression compared to his usual thing, because at this point he's more worried about keeping Casca safe. He has his throwing knives here, which is kind of a homage to Judo, as Judo was always the throwing knife guy, and taught Guts the best that he can how to throw knives. So, as I mentioned, this is them leaving Gordo's cabin and Elf Cave Sanctuary, because one, the cave is collapsed, and at this point Gordo has passed away. In the back we have Erica waving and Rickert looking on. Rickert staying behind to take care of Erica and watch over her, as well as continue his blacksmithing. Here is Griffith, Guts, and Puck. A really good picture of just the dynamic between them. In a typical manga or anime, we have the dark-haired, evil-looking man, missing an eye, scarred, bruised, beaten, who would normally be the antagonist, and Griffith, the beautiful man with flowing white hair and a slender sword and a beautiful face, who would normally be the protagonist. But this is Berserk, and that's not how it is at all. In fact, it is completely the opposite. This is Griffith after showing back up to Rickert's, Gordo's cabin where Rickert and Eric are living. These are the Hill of Swords, which is Rickert's kind of memorial for the Band of the Hawk. Instead of gravestones, Rickert dedicated the whole hilltop to swords. Each sword is commemorating one member of the Band of the Hawk who has died due to Griffith. And all of these swords Rickert made himself. So, as you can see, they are very, very fine-looking swords. And Griffith in his armor, which looks... Say what you want about Griffith, the man can pull off some very fashionable armor. I really like his armor. Here is our first introduction to another major player, Shirake or Shrike, depending on which version you like to go with, and her elf companion Evalira. This is our second elf character, and she is the complete opposite of Puck, whereas Puck is a carefree prankster. Evalira is very serious and very focused on whatever task is at hand. Shirake, while being a child, is a sorceress in training, and despite being a sorceress in training, is still very, very powerful despite her age. And she becomes a major player going forward. This is Shirake here, out of her witch's garb, as well as her mentor, Flora. Flora is an incredible sage, not a witch. I'm just saying witch because, you know, pointed hat, staff, all that stuff. They're not witches, they're sages or mages or whatever the proper term is. Flora is a very kind, helpful, good-natured woman. And Shirake is her apprentice. Here we have Guts here, and Casca following him here. We have some dead bodies in the lake here, with what seems to be either a castle or a rock formation in the background. Here is a close-up of a troll, a big, big enemy that comes into a lot of, or becomes a major part of the story later on. But for now, these guys are bad news. Speaking of trolls, here is Guts cleaving through many of them. This is during their assault on a town that has been harassed mercilessly to these trolls, and the things they do to the people, specifically the women, is horrific to say the least. I won't go into detail because even if I explain it, that will probably get me hit with the YouTube God's banhammer. But yeah, these guys deserve what Guts is putting them through currently. This is in Clyfoth, where the trolls are coming from and their breeding ground. Farnese and Casca ended up getting separated from the group during the fight and got lost in Clyfoth. So they are on their own currently. Farnese has a dagger that is, I believe it's silver, I'm not sure if it's enchanted or not, but she also has a plate of enchanted silver mail. And Casca, who is helpless, has mentally regressed so far that she doesn't even really know the danger that they're in. And this is a really big character moment for Farnese, where she essentially decides, I will do whatever it takes to protect Casca. Because Farnese, if you remember that I said that she comes from the Vandermeer family, so she grew up a very entitled, posh, noble, rich girl. So for her to essentially decide that if she has to sacrifice herself to protect Casca, then she will do it, is a major turning stone for her character, and is one of the reasons why Farnese is probably in my top 3 characters in Berserk. Here is our first picture of Guts in the Berserker armor. This is armor that the Skull Knight wore in his time, and this is after Guts just put it on. The armor shapes itself based on the user, so Guts has just put it on at this point. That's why his helmet is a skull, because at this point the armor is still shaped after Skull Knight when he wore it. However, here, let me just get the glare off this so you can see it. This is Guts's version after the armor transforms to suit Guts. It it does resemble the Beast of Darkness and the one blazing red eye, which I think is so cool. the transformation scene where the armor changes and molds while Guts is in it, from the skull helmet into the wolf dog-like helmet, is a really great scene in the manga, and I think actually probably the best part of the 2016/2017 anime, even though it's only a 10-second scene, but that's the one and only time we will ever speak that name on this channel. As far as I'm concerned, that adaptation does not exist, and I'm not the only one. Here again, we have Casca playing with Puck, kind of holding him up, swinging him around. Puck is actually very sweet to Casca. He's very kind to her, and Casca likes Puck in return. Again, we have Puck seemingly, what's he doing? Stirring. Oh no, this is him with one of his famous chestnuts that he uses to combat demons. He is very, very skilled with them. According to him, he is better with at fighting apostles with his chestnuts than Guts is. So do with that information what you will. Again, another great picture of Casca, with her flowing hair holding Puck. And again, this is another example of just the difference between art piece to art piece of, how Casca is portrayed. She's much darker and kind of more true to her character's appearance in this picture, where she's a lot more paler here. I don't know why that happens with Berserk art so much, but it is what it is. And both pictures look amazing. Here is Shirake and Evalira in her mage attire. This outfit that she has, the hat and the cloak and everything and the staff, was made by Flora and given to her as a gift, since she is Flora's apprentice. And these attire mean the absolute world to Shirake. She loves them to bits. And here is, I believe in this book, this is our first introduction to Isidro. Isidro is a street urchin who sees Guts butcher a couple dozen cushions and decides, hey, I want to train under you, Mr. Black Swordsman. And Guts tells him very politely to get lost, but not in those words. But Isidro doesn't take no for an answer and just decides that, you know what, if Guts won't teach me, I'm just gonna follow him. And that's what he does, and that's how he joins Guts' party. A lot of people joke that modern Berserk, especially when Shirake is introduced, that Guts essentially gains a JRPG party with him, Casca, Farnese, Serpico, Isidro, and Puck and Evalira, each one having a very different skill set. I hope we get some more pictures of Serpico soon, because I want to talk about him. He's an amazing character and a really, really good fighter, but I don't want to talk too much about him until we actually get some more pictures of him. Here's Isidro training, trying to be like Guts. Puck overhead, dropping what seems to be, I think those are nuts or nut casings on top of Isidro's head, while Serpico, cooking, is just looking on. Actually, you know what? I'll take this time to talk about Serpico. So Serpico is Farnese's half-brother, despite Farnese not knowing it. He is the bastard son of Lord Vandermeer, who is Farnese's father, and he and Farnese grew up together and have become inseparable. So Serpico loves Farnese like a sister and is both a servant in the term that he cooks, he cleans, he kind of takes care of chores, but at the same time is an incredible warrior and extremely dangerous with his sword. Near the same level as Guts, or well, not quite at Guts' level, actually not even close to Guts' level, and having a completely different fighting style. Serpico is an absolute force to be reckoned with, so do not let his servant's appearance fool you. The man is extremely dangerous. And here is Farnese, a beautiful picture of her in the cold, trying to warm her hands. This is the party after they arrive in the village before the troll attack. So we have Serpico, we have Guts, we have Shirake. Serpico and Guts are talking to this old woman vendor, trying to buy some food. This is kind of what Serpico does day to day. Over here we have Casca and Farnese. Farnese is essentially Casca's caregiver, which, like I said, is a very, very big part of her character growth, going from a pampered rich girl to essentially a servant for Casca, but Farnese cares for Casca deeply, and Farnese is the only person that Casca truly feels comfortable around. Isidro, careless of everything as usual, is just walking on, and Guts is just looking on silently at the entire party. Another incredible picture here. Let me try and get the glare off it so I can show you. So we have Guts in his berserker armor, with the dragon slayer draped across his back. We have Farnese here with Casca and Serpico and Isidro, and Shirake is just standing next to Guts, Shirake being just a little girl still, and Guts being a absolutely hulking man. And here is Puck and Evalira. You might not be able to see it in this picture, but Guts now has a small little tuft of white hair because the berserker armor literally kills you every time you activate it, or it activates on its own. It drains the life out of you. The armor literally eats you alive. So just in the small time that Guts has had it on, he's only at this point maybe been in 2 or 3 fights, and after his first fight he started to gain white hairs, which just shows how much this armor takes from you. Guts also has his white tuft of hair here, and it might be hard to see just because Shirake is in the way, but Guts is a lot leaner in this picture because the armor severely took away a lot of Guts' muscle mass just based on it eating him alive, basically. Here's a great picture here of Guts fighting Nosferatu Zod, both of them at a stalemate, both of them ready for a great fight. Guts severely wounded but carrying on as always in his berserker armor. However, the berserker armor has not activated yet, with his sword clashing against Zod's horn, and Zod, both enraged and ready to kill, Guts, also has a massive respect for Guts because As the name Nosferatu Zod may imply, he has been around for a very, very long time, almost being immortal. And Guts is the first person in eons who is able to put up a fight against Zod. Keep in mind, Zod can kill other strong apostles super easy. So for what Zod considers to be a mere human to give him a good fight is incredible as far as he's concerned. So he both wants to kill Guts, but also has massive respect for the man. And here is another great picture of Guts and Griffith. So here we have Guts again. You can see the tuft of white hair here, beaten, bruised, cuts, very tired. The despair is starting to get on him. And Griffith, you know, glowing, being absolutely radiant. And again, Guts in the Berserker armor with his massive sword, and Griffith in his majestic silver armor with his slender sword. Again, like I said earlier, you know, in a normal series, you know, this would be the antagonist or villain, and this would be the protagonist or hero, but not at all. Griffith is by far one of the most evil characters to ever be put to manga page or media. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are going to end things for this video, as it's gone on for about an hour or so now. So thank you so much for watching. I will be making part 3 after I am finished wrapping up this video and editing it, because I don't want the time between videos to be as long as the last time. Again, I do apologize for that. I was just dealing with some health issues. So, thank you so much for watching. If you are listening to this video while sleeping or laying down, now would be the time to click off the video so that the ads do not wake you up. And yeah, I cannot thank you enough for watching. Your viewership means the world to me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.